In the neon-lit chaos of Ikebukuro, where arcades buzz with flashing lights and constant noise, we meet our protagonist, a guy so painfully average that people don't even bother remembering his real name. Instead, they call him Mobuo, like he's just another background NPC in someone else's story. Working his part-time job, he quietly blends into the crowd, carrying stacks of paper rolls without drawing a single glance. But of course, life doesn't even let NPCs rest. He accidentally bumps into a guy who immediately turns hostile, calling him a loser and barking at him to watch where he's going. And like always, Mobuo just apologizes and moves on. Nothing special, nothing new. But then, something does catch his attention. A girl. She's been coming to the arcade every day, always alone. Cute, quiet, mysterious. Today, she's locked onto a crane game filled with lazy catfish plushies, staring through the glass like it's a life-or-death mission. Mobuo watches from behind, trying not to stare, especially since her short skirt is making things very difficult for his self-control. He panics internally, scolding himself for even thinking like that. Meanwhile, she makes her move. The claw grabs the plush, lifts it, and drops it at the last second. Again, and again, and again. She keeps trying, but it's obvious she doesn't know the trick to winning. And now she's starting to look frustrated, exhausted even. That's when trouble walks in. 3 guys approach her, and leading them is the same jerk Mobuo bumped into earlier. They start teasing her, calling her cute, offering to help her win the prize. She politely refuses, but they don't take no for an answer. The leader slams his hand against the machine, getting aggressive. The vibe shifts instantly. Mobuo freezes, but he knows this isn't right. Gathering what little courage he has, he calls the staff room for backup. And what does he get? Handle it yourself. Completely useless. As the guy leans in closer, invading her space, things are about to get ugly. But in the blink of an eye, everything flips. The quiet girl moves like lightning. Before anyone can react, bam! A clean, brutal kick straight to the face. No hesitation, no warning. Mobuo stands there, stunned. That cute, helpless girl? Yeah, she's definitely not normal. The punk drops instantly, hitting the floor like a switch was turned off. His 2 friends freeze in pure fear, but the girl doesn't even look satisfied. She's furious. She snaps that because of that idiot, she just wasted 100 yen, money she earned from working countless hours at her part-time job. If he made her lose it, then it's his turn to pay. That's all it takes. The remaining 2 guys panic and run away without looking back. Then she turns and locks eyes with Mobuo. He stiffens. She immediately demands compensation, telling him to give her the prize. He stumbles over his words, explaining he can't just hand out prizes like that, it's against the rules. But she argues it's only fair since he was staring at her earlier. Mobuo panics, apologizes for looking, but still refuses, saying it wouldn't be a real win if she didn't earn it herself. She pauses for a second, then changes her approach. Fine, if he won't give it to her, then he has to teach her how to win. Not just this one prize, but everything in the arcade. And she makes it clear she won't let him leave until she succeeds. Mobuo is completely overwhelmed. He tries to protest, saying his shift is almost over, but she cuts him off and threatens to tell everyone he was peeking at her. That instantly shuts him down. With no way out, he bows his head and agrees. Now stuck as her personal coach, Mobuo starts explaining the truth behind the machines. The big crane claws aren't fully based on skill. They only grip properly under certain preset conditions. Most of the time, they're designed to fail. She calls it a scam, but he calmly says it's just how payout systems work. Then he suggests switching to a different machine, a bridge-type setup where prizes rest on 2 bars. This one, he says, actually depends on skill. Noticing her obsession with the lazy catfish plush, he teaches her the real trick. Don't try to grab it. That's the biggest mistake. The claw isn't strong enough. Instead, aim slightly above the center of gravity and push it forward bit by bit. Tilt it carefully, let physics do the work, and eventually it will fall. She steps up again. This time, she's not just playing, she's calculating. Mobuo steps forward and demonstrates the technique, lining up the claw with calm precision. With a single, clean move, he nudges the prize at just the right point, and it flips smoothly off the bars, dropping straight into the tray. No struggle, no luck, just pure control. She stares in amazement, telling him he's way better at this than he looks. In her excitement, she suddenly grabs his hand, and Mobuo completely freezes, his brain short-circuiting from the unexpected contact. Determined, she turns back to the machine, quietly repeating his instructions to herself. She focuses, lines up the claw, adjusts the angle, and presses the button. The claw hits perfectly. The prize tilts, wobbles for a second, and then drops right in. Victory! She bursts with joy, cheering loudly before throwing her arms around him in a hug, thanking him over and over again. Mobuo turns red instantly, unable to even look at her properly. As he stares at her bright, genuine smile, he can't help but think she's the complete opposite of someone like him. Then, suddenly, she pulls back and realizes something. They never introduced themselves. She tells him her name is Yagasaki Nanora, a second-year high school student, and before he can even react, she hits him with a question that completely breaks his brain. Would he like to go out with her? Mobuo just stands there, frozen, face burning red. His mind spirals. Why him? Why so suddenly? Nothing makes sense. And just like that, this bizarre encounter marks the start of a story between a gloomy, background-type boy and an energetic, unpredictable girl, bonding inside a game center. The next day, Mobuo can't focus on anything. He keeps replaying that moment in his head, especially the part where he misunderstood her question as something romantic. The memory alone is enough to make him want to disappear, but before he can sink too deep into embarrassment, smack, she suddenly appears and slaps him lightly, snapping him back to reality. She quickly clarifies she only meant hanging out as friends, not a date. Before he can even greet her, she grabs his hand and drags him away. In a flash, they're squeezed inside a cramped photo booth. The space is tiny, their face is close, and Mobuo is once again on the verge of overheating. She presses a finger to her lips, signaling him to stay quiet. Through the small gap in the curtain, he notices two girls in school uniforms standing just outside. Then she explains everything. She's not just any girl, she's basically the school idol, top of her class, a student council member, someone everyone looks up to. Because of that perfect image, being seen casually hanging out in an arcade would cause problems for her reputation. But the truth? This place, this chaotic, noisy arcade, it's her secret dream. And now Mobuo is the only one who knows it. Mobuo's brain is already overloaded. He's stuck inside a cramped photo booth with a ridiculously cute girl, their shoulders almost touching. His heart is racing, his thoughts spiraling, and then, beep! She accidentally bumps a button and the machine suddenly blasts a loud error sound. Both of them freeze. Outside, the two girls hear it immediately. They stop, confused, and start wondering if something's wrong. One of them even suggests calling the staff. Mobuo reacts instantly. Pushing past his panic, he steps out of the booth and switches into work mode. With a polite bow, he apologizes and calmly tells them the machine is currently under maintenance. His tone is professional, convincing enough to kill their suspicion. The girls sigh in disappointment and walk away, completely fooled. Crisis avoided. Back inside, she lets out a breath of relief, safe once again. But she doesn't dwell on it for long. The moment the danger passes, she grabs his hand and pulls him across the arcade, straight toward a fighting game cabinet. Her eyes are locked onto a promotional poster. A limited edition catfish prize, awarded only to those who can land 70 winning strikes against the so-called legendary staff. Her motivation instantly reignites. She declares she'll do whatever it takes to win that catfish. Mobuo adjusts his glasses and drops the truth. That legendary staff? Yeah, it's him. She blinks for a second, surprised, but instead of backing down, she smirks. Challenge accepted. She boldly declares it a match between her and the so-called mob boy. The game starts. She charges in aggressively, trying to land the first hit, but Mobuo doesn't even flinch. With perfect timing, he counters effortlessly. On screen, his character completely overwhelms hers, landing clean hits without giving her a chance to react. The skill gap is obvious. She complains that he's being way too serious against a girl, but he ignores it completely. To him, a game is still a game, no holding back. Moments later, he builds up his gauge and fires off a devastating ultimate attack. Instant KO. She slumps, muttering that he's way too strong, even accusing him of cheating because he's staff. Mobuo denies it calmly and asks a simple question. Does she even know how to play properly? That's when it hits him. She's just been button mashing the entire time. No strategy, no understanding, just chaos. Seeing this, he offers to teach her from the basics. Surprisingly, she agrees immediately, saying revision is important. So Mobuo begins his crash course. First, pick an easy character. Second, focus on reducing the opponent's HP to 0. Third, understand how skills actually work instead of spamming buttons. He explains that pro players practice until their movements become second nature, just like studying or sports. It's all about repetition and control. Then he leans in a bit, pointing at the screen, and introduces the key to turning the tide of battle, the ultimate move, a powerful attack that activates when the gauge is full and can completely flip the outcome of a match in a single moment. Now, for the first time, she's not just playing, she's learning how to win. Mobuo explains that while ultimate moves are powerful, they aren't easy to pull off. The inputs are complex and the timing has to be perfect. One mistake, and if the opponent blocks, it's all wasted. She nods confidently, claiming she understands. The next round begins, and this time she actually lands a hit on him. Mobuo pauses for a second, genuinely impressed. Her intuition, her ability to adapt, she's learning way faster than he expected. Then she notices it. Her gauge is full. This is her chance. She quickly inputs the command for her ultimate technique and launches the attack, but Mobuo was already ready. He reads her movement perfectly, dodges with a clean Phoenix fan kick, and blocks everything that follows. Before she can recover, he counters and finishes her off. Another loss. He calmly warns her not to get careless just because she has power, but she refuses to give up. She demands another round, and then another, and yet she keeps losing. No matter how hard she tries, something keeps going wrong. She realizes the issue. There's a specific part of the command where she has to press multiple buttons at the exact same time, and she just can't get it right. Her fingers aren't fast enough. Then suddenly, she smiles. A new idea forms. She challenges him again, declaring this time she will win. Mobuo accepts, but warns her he's not holding back. The match starts. He watches closely, trying to figure out what she's planning. Then he sees it. She leans forward, and instead of using her fingers, she smashes the buttons with her entire upper body. Mobuo's brain completely short-circuits. This is not technique, this is not strategy, this is pure chaos. And somehow, it works. The unexpected move throws him completely off. His focus breaks for just a second, and that's all she needs. Her ultimate attack activates perfectly. Direct hit, KO. Mobuo loses. For the first time. She jumps in excitement, celebrating like she just conquered the world. Finally, she's done it. She's beaten him and won the limited edition Catfish plush. But she's not stopping there. With sparkling eyes, she immediately challenges him again, saying she wants to win everything he has. The next day at the arcade, things take another turn. Yagashi rushes up to him in a panic, almost on the verge of tears, begging for help. She drags him toward a rhythm game machine, Dancing Evolution, where players have to step on arrows in perfect sync with the music. She explains the situation quickly. Today is the last day to win a Lazy Catfish prize from this game. The requirement? Score 7 life points on a song. She's tried over and over, but she just can't do it. As she begs him to teach her, she leans in way too close, her face right near his. Mobuo instantly starts sweating, completely overwhelmed again. He knows he has work to do. He knows he shouldn't get involved. But in the end, he gives in. With a sigh, he agrees to help, but first, he asks her to play one round. He wants to see exactly how she moves. Because this time, it's not about buttons, it's about rhythm. The music starts, and Yagashi jumps into action, stepping across the tiles with surprising energy. Mobuo watches closely, but instead of focusing purely on her technique, he finds himself getting flustered. She's not just playing, she's practically dancing, and it's drawing a lot of attention from the surrounding crowd. When the song ends, she immediately turns to him and asks why he's grinning. Caught off guard, he quickly denies it, saying he was just analyzing her performance. She points out the real issue. She's still 2 life points short of the prize. She asks for proper advice this time, and Mobuo shifts into serious mode. He explains that getting a high score isn't just about hitting the arrows, it's about accuracy and maintaining a combo. Missing even a few steps breaks the flow. He tells her to stop relying only on visual cues and instead feel the rhythm of the music. Then he identifies her biggest mistake. She keeps using the same foot for the same arrows, which slows her down. To prove his point, he demonstrates the hardcore method. Smoothly stepping across the platform, he shows how to alternate feet, keeping up with even the fastest patterns. He explains that she can't treat it like separate steps, she has to actually dance with the rhythm. Understanding this, she confidently declares she'll get the high score. But reality hits hard. After 2 full hours and nearly 1,600 yen spent, she collapses on the platform, completely exhausted and still hasn't won. Panic starts to set in. She's out of money and the arcade is about to close. Desperate, she looks to Mobuo and asks what she should do. Seeing her like this, Mobuo hesitates, then suggests one last method. He points to the safety bar behind the machine and explains holding it can reduce strain and make footwork faster and more stable. Some players consider it a cheap trick, but right now she doesn't have the luxury to care. With no time left, she grips the bar and starts her final attempt. This time, everything changes. Her movements become lighter, faster, more controlled. The rhythm flows through her steps, and the crowd begins to gather, cheering her on as her performance improves dramatically. Then suddenly, rip! A sharp tearing sound cuts through the music. Her skirt slips and tears mid-performance. She panics for a split second trying to cover herself, but she doesn't stop moving. There's no time. She shouts at Mobuo to do something, her voice filled with urgency. Mobuo freezes, his face turning red instantly, but seeing her determination, he forces himself to act. He rushes forward and awkwardly grabs her skirt, holding it in place while trying not to completely lose his mind. It's an unbelievably awkward situation, but she keeps dancing. Step after step, beat after beat, she pushes through to the end, and finally, she crosses the 7 life point mark. Victory! The machine signals her success, and she wins the prize. Exhausted but triumphant, she stands there breathing heavily, having given it everything she had.
Then she suddenly slipped and fell into him. His face turned bright red, and Yigashi, she seemed annoyed at the position she's in. Mobuo thought to himself that he felt the great weight of the situation that day.